Do you ever feel so lost in the chaos of daily tasks that you don't know what to do next? Well, what if I told you the secret to getting focused and finding your next step was a trick I learned in the SEAL teams? I call it the C.O.M.P.A.S.S method. When you apply the same principles used to navigate the wilderness, you'll develop laser focus, increase your productivity, and accomplish your goals faster than ever before. So in this video, I will break this method down step by step so you can start implementing it today and start making meaningful progress towards your most important goal. Do you remember the last time you drove somewhere without using your phone to get there? I was thinking about this earlier, and I remember when I started driving, I'd have to print off directions from MapQuest. Reading directions and driving, probably not the safest thing. Anyway, a GPS is a great tool, but what if you lose battery or signal? Like, what would you do then? In SEAL training, we were forbidden from using GPSs. If you got caught with one, you'd be kicked out of training, and we were only weeks from graduating. We were forced to learn old school map and compass navigation. So each day we'd get a certain amount of waypoints, and all a waypoint is really just a location on your path. So each day you were given a certain amount of hours to hit those waypoints and then make it to the pickup point. If you missed the pickup time or you didn't get enough waypoints, you failed the evolution and risked being dropped from training. Each morning they handed us a list of waypoints and started the timer. Some of my classmates took off running, and some of them got out their map and started to make a plan. There's definitely value in taking action, but I think if we don't get at least a general idea of our destination, we could be running in the opposite direction of where we need to go. To be successful in land nav, I needed clear, defined waypoints and a destination. And I've found it's pretty much the same for everything else. We need clear and specific goals so we know which direction we're working toward. It may take a little extra time to come up with a plan, but it's worth it. We need clear objectives. I had just been given my waypoints. I pulled out my map and started plotting them. But before I could start planning my route, I needed to know one more thing. Where the heck am I? Have you ever been to a theme park and you went to look at the map to figure out where you were? What's the first thing you look for? If you're anything like me, you probably look for the thing that says you are here. It makes sense. You need to know where you are at SeaWorld before you can navigate and take your kids to see Shamu. It was the same for me in land nav, but my map didn't have "you are here" labeled. I had to figure that out myself. Obviously, if you were starting at base camp, then it would be easy to find. But what if you got dropped off in the dark and then got lost? How would you figure it out then? You would just identify two known objects that you could easily recognize on your map. Something like an intersection, a mountain, or a river. Then just shoot a bearing at each object and draw a line on your map. Where the two lines cross is your location. This technique is called a resection. When you know your location, you can orient your map and start making progress towards your next waypoint. So to be more productive, we need to know where we are. This just means we need to assess where we are in relation to our goals. This is crucial for knowing what to do next. A couple days ago, a friend asked me what they should do for a workout. I think he expected me to have some magic Navy SEAL workout. I didn't. I told him it depends on your goals. If you're working out to play better golf, that is a very different workout than training to be a powerlifter. It would be ridiculous to do strongman training if you wanted to run marathons. Once my friend determined his goal, he just had to figure out where he was. Did he need a beginner level workout or should he start further along? So once you have a clear destination, you need to figure out where you are and orient your map. You can do this by taking an honest assessment of where you are in relation to your goal. I can't count the amount of times I've been in the car and my kids have asked me, "Are we there yet?" Which is crazy because they can just look at the screen with Apple CarPlay and know exactly where we are. Unfortunately, a map and compass won't do this for you. You have to know how far you've walked. Knowing how many steps it takes you to walk 100 meters is crucial. If you know this, you can keep track of how far you've traveled and update your position on your map. Sometimes when we work toward a big goal, we forget to measure our progress. We get lost and lose our motivation. To stay on track, we need clear, measurable goals, and we should frequently check our progress towards them. One way to do this is with a simple journal entry. Just write down what you're working on and what your plan to solve it is. When you get stuck, look back at what you wrote 6 months earlier and remember how far you've come. As you progress towards your goal, you get more skills, more information, and the path gets a little clearer. If you knew where you were and you knew where you were going, you would think you could just go straight there. I wish it was that simple. If I took this approach one time, and after walking for miles through the mountains, I came to an impassable cliff, and I had to go all the way back the way I came. This mistake meant I had just doubled the miles I had to travel. This taught me the value of planning ahead. Planning ahead can be tough because we don't know the stuff we don't know. I have found the best way to plan ahead is to find someone ahead of me and learn all I can from them. So find someone who's already done what you want to do and learn everything you can from them. If you can't meet them in person, what can you infer from their story that will help you plan ahead? After passing the first day of land nav with time to spare, I decided to try to get all the points. I hit the first 3 points pretty easily, and then I ventured into the Valley of Woe. The Valley of Woe was covered in manzanita, and it was nearly impossible to get through. It blocks your vision and makes it so easy to get lost. And once you get lost in the Valley of Woe, you have to get out of it before you can even see your surroundings to figure out where you are. Somehow I found my point in the Valley of Woe, but on my way out, I got lost without even realizing it. I headed to my next waypoint, but I ended up wasting hours walking up the wrong mountain. Not only was it now impossible to hit all the points, but I would have to massively adjust my plan to even make it to the pickup point and pass. So I plotted the fastest route possible to get the minimum points I needed to pass, and I ran the whole way. I barely made it. Sometimes things don't go according to plan and you need to adjust your plan. I had to alter my route to pass this test. The same is true when working toward our goals. Sometimes we need a new approach to accomplish a goal, and sometimes we just need an updated map. After almost failing the day before, I realized I just needed to stay focused on what was working. Avoiding the Valley of Woe meant I would almost certainly pass, and I would pass with time to spare. A big mistake I have made in the past is making things way harder than they needed to be. I remember hearing as a kid, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. My method was working the first day and working well, so why did I try and change it? I did it because I lost focus on what the goal was. I didn't get extra points for making it harder for myself, and in fact, I almost jeopardized accomplishing the goal at all. So when we find something that is working, we should stay focused on what makes it work and don't break it by trying to fix it. Before we went to the mountains and we were tested on land nav, we spent a week in the classroom learning the basics. One concept that stuck with me is, if you're high, stay high. What this means is, if you're going to climb up a mountain, plan your route in such a way that you climb it as few times as possible. Doing this correctly helps you sustain energy and motivation, and it's much easier to see where you're going when you have high ground. To achieve any long-term goals, we have to sustain our motivation. But motivation always fades. And this is where discipline kicks in. I learned a trick that helped me build my skill and discipline the fastest way possible. It worked for me in the SEAL teams, in grad school, and building my own business. So if you want to learn the trick and how to use it in your life, then watch this video next.